Hi, everyone, and welcome to our June Product Club. I'm Lou, the Pathfinder Community Manager. It is so good to see some frequent flyers popping up. If it is your first time at Product Club, you've picked a good one. This is going to be an exciting session because this is one of our sneak preview product clubs where we're going to dive into a new feature set to launch with the A360.37 release, Conversational Copilot. The goal of our product club sessions are to give our community members and customers a chance to connect with members of our product team and stay updated on the latest innovations in intelligent automation. Today, we are chatting with Shane Patel, who we will get to know in just a second. But before we do, I want to kick things off with some Pathfinder news. At this point, have a blank document available because I'm going to be sharing some links and I want you to be able to circle back to them post Product Club because we have some really cool events coming up. First, we have APA Training Camp on demand. It is live until August 1st. So if you haven't registered, now is the time to do so, and I am going to drop that link in the chat. This is free, informative, and we've received nothing but incredible feedback, so definitely worth your time. I am seeing names of people that I know have completed APA training camp, so if that is you, feel free to drop in the chat box. Share your experience for those who haven't completed it. As a reminder, this session is recorded. I will share a recap in the community and there will be Q&A at the end. But if we don't get to your question, fret not. We will answer them in the community recap. And with that, let's go ahead and dive into our first poll. I know that we have a lot to cover today, so I want to go ahead and get things started. Are you currently using Automation Copilot? This will help ground us in where everyone is on their journey, what's being used, what is being planned to be used. 6% in production, 20% as a POC, 37% looking into it, and 37% not at the moment. So this will be a wonderful session for you all. Okay, before I kick things over to Shane, let's get to know him and Matt first. So Shane, what is your current role at Automation Anywhere?
Um, yeah, so hey everyone, my name is Shane Patel. I'm a product manager focused on front office and business solutions, primarily responsible for a product called Automation Copilot, previously known as RE, as Matt called out in the chat. And it's a product that's really it's built on the Automation 360 platform, and it brings a number of capabilities, a number of automation capabilities directly to the business user, so that they can deploy both task automation as well as complex end-to-end process automation directly in the flow of their work, whether that's from our dedicated Automation Copilot web application, or whether that's that web application that can be embedded directly into their favorite enterprise applications like Workday or SAP or Salesforce, where we'll see that in the demo later today. I've been with Automation Anywhere for about 5 years now, and I'm based out of I'm based out of my home in Vancouver, British Columbia. I look forward to sharing more about Automation Copilot with everyone today, and the latest innovations around it as well.
Awesome. And what is a recent development in the intelligent automation space that you believe everyone should have on their radar right now?
Good question. I think the biggest development that I'd probably highlight is AI agents and AI agent workflows, along with the emergence of recent A to A or agent to agent protocol, really, which is a way for AI agents to be able to talk to one another, agents built on different platforms and vendors to really have that common way of communicating, that common language. I think these recent innovations around the AI agent space really show how quickly this area is evolving, how quickly it's maturing, as well as how quickly the standards are being created around it. If we up-level that just a little bit from a higher level, we're seeing a shift from traditional deterministic automation, right? The if this then that logic to more of that LLM-powered agent-based ability to be able to actually think through problems. And these agents can adapt in problems, to problems in real time. They can handle complex instructions. They can leverage the different tools that you give them to be able to take action. And so really it becomes automation that is able to reason instead of just simply following scripts. I think this provides a huge possibility for our customers to really be able to expand use cases across their enterprise. And I'm going to use an analogy. I know Matt loves analogies, so I'm going to use one that is based on the iceberg analogy. I'm sure everyone has seen that classic picture of the iceberg where most of it's underwater. So traditional rule-based automation, which addresses those classic use cases today, is really what you can see above that water, maybe that 20% of processes that are really structured, which are predictable. And AI agents are now unlocking that other 80% below the surface, all those complex judgment-based processes that previously required human intervention. So I think from my perspective, this is where everyone should have some visibility on their radars and keep a close eye out on the innovations around Automation Aware AI Agent Builder, which is coming out in 38. So I just had to have that little product plug in there as I close that out.
Awesome. And I'm going to piggyback off that and do a
Yeah,
shameless plug for APA training camp. So still going live until August 1st. You dive into some of that during the training camp. So definitely register. And then Shane, one last question. Most important, sweet or salty?
sweet, definitely.
Goodness.
Yeah, dessert first.
Yeah. Matt, over to you. What is your current role at Automation Anywhere?
Sure. So I am a director in the community and learning space. I create some of the content that we have plugged today. APA Training Camp was something that I put together about over a 3-month span, writing the itinerary, recording the videos. A couple of the folks on my team helped me record everything. So if you've attended camp, you've heard my voice drone on for hours about AI and AI-powered things. Formerly, before I came to Automation Anywhere, I actually worked with Shane uh, as somebody trying to put one of Automation Anywhere's products into production. So I came from PNC Bank, where I implemented Copilot, Process Composer in its current state, not with the stuff you're about to see today. And I bothered Shane for lots of different reasons, learning about different ways that the product would work, ways to make certain unique things that we were trying to solve work. So I am very familiar with the implementation of Copilot. I'm really excited to see some of the newer things that are coming out.
Okay, and then on that, what is a recent development in the intelligent automation space that you believe everyone should have on their radar?
Well, so the idea of being able to inject humans anywhere in the process, not really a recent development. Prior to A360 releasing and us getting access to Copilot at PNC, we were doing it with SharePoint, manually writing to SharePoints and having people go through giant lists and clicking items. The value of human in the loop or human driven automation is really, really powerful. And having a tool that's inbuilt into your product suite that integrates with everything is super great. So if you're still doing legacy automation, there's some value there. The iceberg metaphor, I like the low-hanging fruit concept myself. You've got a tree, there's the low-hanging fruit, that's RPA. You start introducing humans and AI and other things, you can get all the way to the top of that tree. So I'm really into AI and human collaboration when it comes to automation.
Great. And then sweet or salty?
It is both, but sweet primarily.
Okay, great. So we have a good
For
group of people
I had
here.
for dinner yesterday French toast and bacon, with
Ooh.
powdered sugar. Yeah, so that's
Oh,
that's my idea of a good
yeah.
time.
Here in the South, we call that breakfast supper.
Yeah, yep, breakfast. I like that.
All right. And with that, Shane, I'm going to kick it over to you. I will stop sharing my screen and it is all yours.
All right, perfect. Hopefully that worked. All right, what do you see? A full screen, hopefully,
Gotcha.
of,
Yep.
yeah,
Transforming how work gets done. Yep.
perfect. All right. So before we dive into product details, I want to paint a picture of what's happening in organizations just like yours today, like everyone that's on this call. 44% of employees report difficulty finding the information that they need to be able to do their jobs, even when they know that information exists somewhere in the company's systems. If you're thinking that sounds familiar, you're right to feel that way. We've all struggled to locate information at times, even though we know it exists somewhere in our corporate systems, whether that could be somewhere buried in a SharePoint portal, it could be somewhere on a Confluence page and you just can't find it through your search. Maybe it's somewhere in a chat history within your Teams or your Slack. And when we dig deeper into this as a problem, we actually see what it means in terms of time and productivity, and the numbers that are represented get even more striking. According to IDC research, knowledge workers are spending 2.5 hours every day searching for information. That's over 30% of the standard workday dedicated not to analysis, not to strategy, not to execution, but to simply locating the information that an employee needs to be able to get the work started. Now, here's where this gets even more interesting from a business perspective. While organizations are losing productivity to information search challenges, McKinsey research also shows that 30% of employee tasks that employees work through on a daily basis could simply be automated, which would boost both operational efficiency as well as employee satisfaction. So what we're looking at isn't just an efficiency problem, it's a strategic opportunity. The question becomes, how do we transform these pain points into the competitive advantages? How do we give our people back those 2.5 hours every day that they're spending on information search, plus free up some additional time by being able to automate some of those manual tasks so that they can focus on higher value work that drives real business outcomes? And that's what we're going to explore together today. So what does the solution look like? Well, the organizations that are getting ahead of this challenge are really turning to AI assistants to be able to help with these productivity and employee challenges, and to be able to help drive more productivity and improve employee satisfaction. And the results here speak for themselves. On the left, we're seeing that AI assistants can reduce information search time by up to 65% across various knowledge work tasks. Think about that in the context of these 2.5 hours that we just discussed. We're talking about getting back over an hour and a half per employee per day just from solving the search problem alone. But here's really where it gets even more interesting, right? And even more compelling from a business perspective. Harvard Business Review, their research shows that companies implementing AI assistants for knowledge workers are seeing productivity improvements in the 27 to 40% range. And this isn't theoretical. This is based on real organizations seeing measurable impact via AI assistants. So what stands out is that we're not just talking about marginal gains. When you combine dramatically reduced search time with broad automation capabilities that we discussed, we're looking at a fundamental shift in how work gets accomplished. The question isn't whether AI can transform knowledge work, it's how quickly organizations can capture these proven benefits. And that's what brings us to exactly what we've built to help you realize some of those outcomes.
I wanted to, while you're about to pull that up, I wanted to just bring back the PNC use case that I worked with you on a little while ago.
Mhm.
The thing that we had to have somebody do was quite literally moving a piece of information and a document to where it needed to go. And this process at PNC required the people to have to do a ton of customer research. And like the actual doing of the work took all of 5 seconds to do. It was the identification of who the person that they were talking to was. It was a customer facing issue, who they were and where the information had to go. And that took up like 70 to 80% of the work. And the overall process in the original state was a 5 to 7 day long process that I think had a 25% failure rate and required customers to come back into the branch to redo the entire thing. And the process that we put in place to automate it because of Copilot trimmed it down to 5 minutes, which I could, if you can imagine the employee satisfaction here, not having to hope things worked out in the back office, or the customer's reaction to not having to get a phone call and say, please come back, something went wrong, just everything being handled in there. That's the type of
Absolutely.
transformation that you're enabling when you think about this type of human agent collaboration.
Yeah, 100%. Thanks for that, Matt. And as we get into the solution here, human agent collaboration for business users, we teamed up with the great folks at Amazon, who we had felt had the strongest enterprise-ready generative AI assistant on the market, especially from a security perspective. So we collaborated with them on a new way for humans and AI to work together by bringing several technology pieces into one smooth and seamless experience. We combined Automation Copilot with Amazon Q, with Amazon Bedrock, Claude large language models, as well as your company's process data to be able to help find and deploy automation super easy for anyone across your organization. So the search is powered by our powerful process reasoning engine, which if you had tuned into Imagine or if you were there in person, you probably heard a lot of marketing, a lot of references into the core process reasoning engine, which is powering a lot of our AI capabilities on our platform. And it's really that process reasoning engine which is able to understand the context around your automations and enable the accurate and secure search of automations within your repository through natural language. And this is what Copilot, a core part of our new Copilot conversational capabilities are built upon. And employees, referencing what some of those stats that we discussed earlier, how they waste up to 30% of their workday just hunting for that information. This solution also fixes that by securely delivering information, your enterprise knowledge, right when people need it, using the powerful retrieval augmented generation capabilities of Amazon Q that allows for those knowledge searches to be able to, those knowledge searches that are grounded on your company's data to be returned securely and seamlessly right to the user, ensuring those responses are accurate as well as trustworthy. Flexibility is another key advantage here. While Automation Copilot was great as its own web application, you can also embed it where your teams already work every day. Apps like SAP, like Salesforce, like Workday, you can even embed it into your Microsoft Teams as a personal app so that users can access it right from where they collaborate with other users. And since it's built on the Automation 360 platform, you automatically get all the information governance, the security features that are baked in, including comprehensive auditing, as well as conversation tracking. Plus, Amazon Q's guardrails are also a built-in capability of the solution, meaning that you get features like hallucination detection that checks responses against your company data, and it fixes those inconsistencies in real time as it's generating the output, as well as topic control so you can ensure that your users aren't searching and discussing anything that they're not supposed to through the conversation. So yeah, in the end, human agent collaboration through Automation Copilot delivers a secure, a robust, and definitely an enterprise-ready solution that really changes how your employees get work done. Next, I'd like to dive us into a demo to show you the solution in action. Oops, there we go. Before I do so, I just want to set up the demo scenario here a little bit. So the demo will revolve around a credit approval process. And if we look at how that credit approval process looked like in the old world, pre-Copilot, we can see that manual stream up top. We have a sales rep who needs to put in a credit request for an opportunity. It's a larger opportunity. It has some longer net terms that need to be approved. And so the customer needs that added credit on account. That credit request is typically emailed to a credit analyst, and that credit analyst spends a lot of time in different applications, including Salesforce, Dun& Bradstreet, SAP, pulling all this data together that represents the customer and their financial situation. And all that information is then passed over to the credit director, usually in different formats, because the credit analyst has pulled all this information in various formats from these different systems. So there might be PDFs and Word docs, Excel sheets, and all of that's emailed to a credit director who needs to make sense of all this information and then approve or deny that credit request. And in the old world, this on a good day, it took up to 6 hours. On a bad busy week, maybe it took an entire week to get done. And we're going to take a look at how with Copilot with AI agents, we are now reimagining that process with Automation Copilot being accessible to a sales rep directly in Salesforce, where they can create an automation request directly through that Copilot. We have a number of API tasks in the background that will automatically pull all that data of these different disparate systems in the enterprise and make all that available to an AI agent. That AI agent is actually going to be responsible for making the recommendation. It's going to access company documentations and procedures on credit, and it's going to use that information to compare against the business data that was retrieved for the customer and provide its recommendation to the credit director, who can use that to help them guide in their own decision making. So with that, let's go ahead and just
real
jump
quick
into the
before
demo.
you do that demo, Shane. I wanted to just some folks might be seeing this and kind of getting the sense of like, well, we're writing bots now, and this is really far away from that. And you don't have to go from bots to this. The stuff that I did in my previous role did not have the conversational AI and did not have generative AI, but getting Copilot in there and doing some of that reimagining, you can do that today. And it gives you that stepping stone to get to this state. Like this really excites me because I already did the intermediate layer. But there are intermediate layers that you can work through to build confidence with the human agent collaboration first.
Absolutely. Yeah, great point, Matt.
And then I'm
And
going to dive in just real
yeah.
quick. Javier posted a question. Matt, yours may have touched on this, but they said essentially the chat box is triggering bots similar to the way that Microsoft's Copilot chat boxes can trigger flows, correct?
Yeah.
In a sense, yes, but I think that we're leaving out the fact that instead of a person having to know what flow they are attempting to start up and doing it conversationally, the person here only has to know what's going on. And the tool will be able to find all of the automations available to them and help make a recommendation on how to go. So it's a little bit smarter because it's aware of what exists and it's not just a new button for them to press.
Exactly. Yeah, great point, Matt. And that's exactly how I'm going to highlight this starting point of the demo. So you can see, again, just to jump back into the story a little bit, we're on a Salesforce record page, right? So our sales rep has come in. They're looking at their opportunity. They have an opportunity for Polyscope Labs, and we can see that the amount is $467,000. We can also see the credit limit here of $300,000. So the customer is actually short on credit, and this opportunity cannot be turned into an order and processed until the credit limit is increased. So we need to make sure that that credit is available for the customer. So first thing that she's going to do is typically, again, she was sent an email and that could have taken hours or days to complete. But in this case, we have Copilot embedded right within her Salesforce application available for her to be able to engage with, to be able to search for automations that will help her in scenarios like this. As Matt mentioned, you definitely don't have to jump to conversational right away. You can use Copilot with the traditional tabs. We have automations and task notifications, so you still have the way of being able to embed our classic point and click interface of Copilot into any of your applications or just access it directly if you want to start there. If you're ready to jump right into conversational, what your users will see is this new assistant tab that's available for them to be able to enter their own prompts into. And so here, maybe our sales rep starts with a curious question, right? So she's going to go ahead and just type in, what are the rules for credit increases based on assigned PO with net 60 terms? So we do have a PO that's coming for this customer. It is net 60, hence why we need that additional credit. And we just want to make sure that as a sales rep, I understand the rules and I understand that there is a path for me to get this approved. So just with a quick search, again, this is sent over and it's processed in the background through Amazon Q by searching the Q RAG index, which has been populated with a ton of different data, different data sources and different domains of data representing various facets of the organization. In this case, it found the right set of documents that represents credit policies for my organization, and it found the right clause within that multi-page document that references the rules for credit increases with net 60 terms. It's given me that great response here, and I can see that for increases above 500,000, a credit committee review is mandatory. We're under that. We're also about the 75% credit limit mark, so we should be good here in getting approval. We can also see, and sorry, this is a bit of a dated interface. The GA will look much cleaner and polished. So we're just working off an older build just to highlight that. But we also have this attribution section of the response as well, right? So we can see from a business user perspective that this information came off of a document called Procure Med Credit Policy. So it's giving me that lineage, if you will, back to the document that this text was a reference from. I know that the model didn't just hallucinate or make this up, or if this was something that was trained on from some other company's data. This, in fact, did come from my company's knowledge. The response is grounded on that knowledge, and I can trust that that's accurate for my decision making. Now, the next thing I do is I'm satisfied with that. Everything looks great. And so I'm going to go ahead and try to locate an automation that might help me. Maybe I don't even know if an automation exists in the system. So I'm going to just type in my intent. I want to increase credit limit for my current customer. And you'll see that just based on this intent, this is where we're making use of our process reasoning engine to really kick in and go locate the right automation within our repository that matches what the customer wants to do. We have dozens of different automations in this control room, but again, based on what based on what the user types in here, we're able to do that accurate matching based on the name of the automation, as well as a summary of the automation that we're actually producing in the background. We understand a lot of our customers aren't populating things like description fields of automations, and they're pretty much always empty. So we understood that problem, and we solved it by using a process reasoning engine to be able to understand, again, the context of what is happening in these processes and these automations, and to be able to use AI to be able to generate a somewhat accurate description of what this automation is doing, which then makes these automations a lot more searchable from a user perspective through Copilot. So in this case, we got the right automation that came up. That's exactly what our sales rep was looking for. So just going to dive right into those details and start this automation flow. And at this point, what the user is doing is the user is engaging with this automation flow directly from the conversation. So I'm not being bounced out of the assistant chat back into a different tab to work with the automation. I'm able to work with it in the context of all the information that I've gathered so far, and I can continue chatting with it as the automation runs as well. So you'll see that we'll fill out this request for credit limit to be increased to 500,000. So we're well above what the order amount is. We'll also add in our reason for request, letting our credit approver know that. And then we want to upload that signed PO. So just go over to my files and locate that purchase order for procurement. And we'll set that. We get a quick notification letting us know that the request is open, meaning that an instance of the process has been created and that's running in the background. We can also see as we do a quick click into the show details that the first step has completed successfully. That was that request intake form that we completed. And now we're extracting the purchase order details in the background. So we have a document automation step here that is taking that PO. It's a pretty complex PO as well. And it's going to extract all the relevant details of that purchase order and digitize those details. And so those details then become structured data, structured elements that are made available to the process flow. Now, the user isn't stuck waiting here. They can certainly continue to work with their assistant to ask other questions or even launch additional automations in parallel if they wanted. We'll just demonstrate it with asking another question as a follow-up. So maybe our sales rep is curious around what's the max credit increase that I can request for a Tier B customer without CFO approval. Again, maybe they're just thinking, hey, this needs to be completed in the next few days because it's quarter end, and when our CFO gets involved, it drags things on. So I'm going to go ahead and ask that question. You can also see that just before I was able to fire that off, we got another notification right in the chat as well, letting us know that a task has been assigned to us. And what that means is in this process flow, that document extraction task completed, and now we have a validation step. That's the next part of that process flow, and that validation step has been assigned to this particular user, and so it just allows the user to be able to click directly into that to open that step. So we get some information back on the question that we asked coming from our knowledge source. Again, we can see that a CFO approval is not required because of our increase, which is below 75%. So here, everything is looking great, super positive. I can also see, again, that the content was generated from different sources. The first use case showed where it came out of one particular document. In this case, this entire summary was actually generated out of 2 documents, and these are the document names that they came from. So again, it gives me that trustability in the information that it's sending back. I can trust that it's accurate, and again, I can trust that I can use it for my decision making. Now, if we go back up to the notification here, we're just going to open up this validation step. We get a quick update just letting us know it's a pretty big form, so we're going to open it up in a new window.
While that's opening up, there was a question about, can we upload a file to the agent to extract information? I hope that what you just saw answers that question. Basically, if you have the ability to do it through document automation or other scripting means, that can be exposed to one of these processes so that the information can be sent in, extracted, and then provided back to the human to do some work.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you. And here we're seeing the results of this extraction process. So typically in a production process, I wouldn't expose these validation capabilities directly back to the same user who sent this in. We would handle these through a separate team of validators who were handling exceptions. In this case, for demonstration purposes, I want to highlight that, look, from a conversation perspective, you're not just starting an automation and waiting for the final result. These automations can be pretty complex. They can have different human tasks. They can have validation tasks. They can have approval tasks. All of those tasks can be surfaced back up through the conversation, back to that business user in the conversation to be able to address. And this is just an example of that. So here, our sales rep is just taking a look at that PO on the left-hand side. We can see it's a pretty complex PO, right? We have text that overlaps different columns within the table. We have a signature down below. We have some unstructured text. And we can see that all of that was extracted successfully using our latest document extraction capabilities, some of it using some of our classic extraction methods with OCR, and some of those using some of our newer capabilities that allows us to be able to apply generative AI on top of the document and be able to use some of those vision capabilities to be able to get at some of this otherwise more difficult data or difficult to access data and be able to extract that successfully. So we can see all of this information was successfully extracted. We're just going to submit that back into the process. And now in the background, what this is doing is I'm just going to flip back over to the slide just for a second. As a reminder, we have a number of automation tasks that are now responsible for what the credit analysts used to do, and that is where they would go into Salesforce and grab that list of open opportunities, where they would go into D&B or Dun& Bradstreet and generate a new credit score given it's a large or substantial credit increase. We want to make sure that their credit score is still in good standing. And of course, going into SAP and pulling out that invoice aging report to check on their payment status and if there's any outstanding invoices and things like that. So we have that complete financial picture of our customer. I'm just going to go back to, sorry. We can see here that within Salesforce, we're actually notifying the user that their credit request is an approval stage. Your credit limit increase request is an approval stage. You'll be notified in the conversation when the decision is provided. So this is great. At this point, the sales rep is happy. They're going to go ahead and work on other things. And we're going to switch hats and go to our credit director and what they see inside of the application in which they work. So just bear with me a second here while I load up Copilot inside of Microsoft Teams. All right, that's just coming up here. And here you can see we're logged in as a credit director. I'm in my Microsoft Teams application and I have access to our Automation Copilot as an application right here. Same capabilities that you saw embedded within Salesforce, but in this case, I don't need to do anything in the conversation itself. I'm actually going to jump directly over to my task tab where I see all the tasks that are assigned to me or assigned to my team that require action. There's a lot here, so I've got a busy day ahead, but I'm just going to jump over to the latest one. And this is the one that's just come over from our sales rep. And we can see here in this comprehensive approval form that there's a lot of different data elements that are present for the approver. We have our purchase order on the left-hand side. We have our customer details, the opportunity close date. So that information coming off of Salesforce and some of that information that was entered into that initial form. We have those digitized purchase order details, the DMB credit score, as well as our sales pipeline and our aging snapshot coming out of SAP. And we even have an AI summary. So the AI summary, again, utilized in an AI agent to be able to go in and utilize RAG, reference those policy documents, compare this information up top against those policy documents, and create a recommendation for the credit approver. So as an approver, I no longer have to send, several minutes or hours crawling through this information, making sense of it all. I can now rely on my risk summary to be able to summarize all this detail, even have those comparisons against my policies to let me know if there's anything in violation or if everything looks good. It even gives me that source attribution, letting me know which documents it reference. And from my perspective, just looking at this last line, based on the available financial indicators and the policy guidance, this request is considered low to moderate risk and supported by business context. So from that perspective, I'm happy. There's no red flags here. I'm going to go ahead and just go um, approve this request. And as we navigate back over to our sales reps view in Salesforce, we can see that the credit has been approved. And just looking into that, we can see some of those details. Again, some of that information about it being low risk, and there's no overdue invoices that's just being conveyed back to sales rep. But the sales rep, at the end of the day here, is happy that they can now close their deal and turn this opportunity into an order before the close of quarter. And that there is the end of the demo. So from this, I'm going to switch back over to our slides and just kind of close out some supporting information. But if there's any questions, feel free to post them.
I was just going to put in a little bit of color commentary as well.
Yeah.
From the previous use case that I had done at PNC, obviously did not have any of this technology. It did not exist. It was just something Shane was still cooking up. But a lot of the stuff that you see here in terms of value gen, if you want it to go from where you're at now with bots to this stage eventually, this has knowledge management built in. This has multiple tasks happening at the same time. You could go right now into Copilot and do structured form inputs and some very basic human, then bot, then human interaction, like what you see here. And that's what we were able to do at PNC. It is a good stepping stone to being able to do a lot of this work. The stuff that we would not have been able to do at my place, if there was a policy question, they still had to go find it in their knowledge base, right? They had to know what their job was and know exactly what steps were required to make it that 5-minute goal that I was telling you. Someone that was untrained had no real steps to move through what we had built in our original system. This takes that to the next level, and it consolidates all of the different tabs and all of the different systems of record, systems of information, and systems of action that an employee would have to do, interact with to solve a problem, and exposes it via one form. So this is like the holy grail, so to speak, of preventing swivel. And I think that's probably the key word here, getting rid of swivel and putting it all in one place.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Matt. All right. So just some closing out slides here. I want to walk through a little bit of the architecture. This is the architecture at a high level view. I'm sure there's a lot of questions around how does it work and how do we connect? What do we have to bring to the table, et cetera. So the idea here is that this entire experience is being brought to you as a turnkey service. Your users come into our Copilot conversational assistant. Everything here is supported by our Automation 360 platform, meaning nothing changes in terms of authentication. Your users will authenticate the same way into the platform as they do today, whether that's SAML-based or whether that's database authentication. We are exposing processes today, so that is the first automation type that will be searchable and deployable directly through conversation, and we'll continue to add to that list as we progress across releases, including API tasks, bot tasks, and our upcoming AI agents as well. And then from a flow perspective, as users converse with a conversational agent, what those requests are sent is to a part of a process reasoning engine, which is built on Bedrock. Those requests kind of come in here, and this is where we figure out what it is that the user is asking for. If they're asking for automation, the automation request is sent directly back to the control room, and our control room is handling those requests accordingly. If we determine it to be a informational request, those informational requests are handled by Amazon Q in the background. And this is where we're using the powerful capabilities of Amazon Q's large language model, its RAG index, as well as some Automation Anywhere plugins that we've built that allow Q to be able to reach back into the control room, grab data, things around deployment, status of your automation, or tasks that are assigned to you. Those types of informational requests are actually brought back from the control room in real time into into Amazon Q, which then responds accordingly into the Automation Copilot user interface for the user. So it's pretty cool architecture again, where we have some of those powerful informational capabilities serviced by Amazon Q, and then we're using the full power of the Automation 360 platform to deliver automation capabilities into a single unified experience. And from a
Shane,
data management, yeah.
sorry, while you're saying that, there was a question
Mhm.
that's pretty much right next to what you're talking about. Question was,
Yeah.
what inputs are being referred to for Automation Copilot to know which task bots to run when using natural language? Is it just task bot descriptions? Do you want to talk about how that context is pulled in?
Yeah, so it'll be a combination of the name and description. And actually, it's a good segue to my next slide. So let me just wrap this one up and I'll jump over to the next slide.
Awesome.
Hopefully that'll answer your question. Yep. Um, So on this one, if you're wondering, how do I get that data into the RAG? How do I populate this index with my company's policies, agreements, what have you, to be able to help get those answers to my users? We're actually building a data management interface directly into our control room. So there'll be a brand new page added into the RE web application that will allow users with the right permissions, of course, to be able to go in, selectively add in the documents and the different content types that they want to be able to upload, and that will all end up into an Amazon S3 bucket with full CMK encryption, so you can trust that that data is securely stored there, and that data is then synced into Amazon Q on a periodic basis. Sorry, not a periodic basis, on a real-time basis. So as soon as you click the sync button on demand, we will take all that data out of S3 and put that into the RAG index, which then immediately makes it searchable by your users. Um, and another key capability that we're adding into the data management perspective is also the ability to secure your documents by role. And I think this is an important thing to note. I don't see this in a lot of other solutions, and this is one of the reasons why we really loved Amazon Q, is that you can apply what are called ACLs on your documents. So I could say I want to upload a folder of HR documents, and I'm going to assign that to my HR role. And I'm going to now create a folder for my marketing documents, and I'm going to assign that to my marketing role. Now, if I come in as an HR user and I start searching for text around marketing, I'm not going to get those responses because in the background, Q is using those ACLs. It understands the user identity, and it will check if you have access to that document data. And if you do not, you will not get a response. And so I love that feature because it means that we can have a single solution that can be deployed across enterprise, across user roles, across teams, and you can ensure that your data stays secure and isn't accidentally exposed to users who shouldn't be having access to that information. All right. So that question from Matt: how do you search for the right task, and what attributes are used? So we've built a process, and this feeds into our process reasoning engine as well. We have a step called day one generation. So when you first deploy this into your control room, we'll have a button that allows you to be able to trigger a one-time generation of descriptions for all of your repository objects. We'll also have ongoing generations, so developers, as they check in repository objects, forms, what tasks, processes, that check-in event will also lead into the next set of steps here in the flow, which is responsible for that generation. The first thing that we do in this process is we take a look at that repository code that you're checking in, and we go through and remove all PII data that we find. Hopefully there's none, but if there is, we'll make sure we remove that. Any API keys, anything, any passwords, anything that's really hard coded in there that really shouldn't be anyway. These should all be based off credential vault if using best practices. But if you're not, we're going to do our best here to try to remove all of that sensitive information. We then go into what's called a technical summary generation. So we go through, again, all the individual artifacts that are available, and we generate technical descriptions of exactly what's happening inside of that automation code. And then what we try to do is we bubble that up into more of a generic what is happening overall from a business perspective. So we understand at each step what it does in this flow. Now help generate a business description of the problem that this is solving, or what exactly is it doing from a process perspective. And that business level description is what we store on the automation to make that then searchable through Copilot by business users. Again, so that problem I highlighted earlier in the demo, we understand that customers of ours aren't filling in description fields accurately. Maybe comments aren't being used, things like that. So we knew that the search problem was going to exist, which would caused us to rely on only the name of the automation, which wasn't the best way to find automations, at least accurately. And so we solved that problem by creating this pipeline here that you see that allows us to be able to automatically generate these descriptions in the background, store them, and make them searchable for that accuracy. Hopefully that answered the question earlier. Just a quick highlight, since I don't have a build right now where I can show this in action, I just wanted to share a quick screenshot of where the AI knowledge would live. So this is exactly how users would engage with that ability to be able to upload knowledge to the index, into the Q index. And so we'll have this new AI knowledge page available directly within our Automation Copilot web application. Again, users will be able to organize their content, utilize the upload mechanism to be able to point to files locally and send that up into S3. Once ready, they can sync. And when they click the sync action, this is what will ultimately allow Q to ingest that data and make it searchable. And of course, you'll notice that there's a role button here as well above the table, and that's what will allow you to be able to set those role-based permissions on your documents that you upload. So by default, anything that you upload will be deny access for all users by default. So nobody will be seeing anything that you sync until you use roles and you open up access to one or more roles of users. So a great way of being able to, again, secure your document data. What are we getting today? I know I'm running out of time, so I'll go through this somewhat quickly. So today we have the in GA, which is planned currently for .37, cloud rollout July 19th to the 21st for North America. That is going to be the first region that we support. So you'll be able to manage your document uploads to a control room, as I mentioned, secure your documents by role. Process automations are the first automation type that we are focused on for this release. So those will be available to you as you saw in the demo. And of course, all of those actions that you perform through the conversation will be audited, and those will all be made available to admins if they want to run those reports and see what users are doing. And of course, RBAC is respected for all of your automation requests, so there's nothing additional you have to do here. All of the RBAC that you've already created on your repository, on your processes, we're reusing all those constructs today when users search for automations and we expose them in conversation. We're not bypassing anything. We're not doing anything new there. We're just using the same security permissions that you've already created in your control room. From a document perspective, we're supporting I think it's upwards of 20 different file types. So all the common document types that you probably have your information stored in within your organization, PDFs, Word, Excel, spreadsheets, PowerPoints, etc. All of those can be uploaded and sent into Amazon Q for search. And S3 will be the first knowledge source that we will support. Amazon Q does support up to 40 different connectors to common enterprise applications like SharePoint, like Confluence. We'll focus on S3 initially, and we'll assess the other sources based on demand. And of course, it will be fully embeddable into your enterprise applications. Now, from a roadmap perspective, what we're looking at for the next couple of releases down the road is, of course, support for API tasks, local bot tasks, AI agents, as well as computer use agents. So all the different types of automations that users will typically have access to directly through control room. We want to make sure that those are searchable and accessible from conversation. AI guardrails integration as well. So we have a great feature on the control room called AI guardrails that allows you to be able to essentially perform tasks like masking or redaction of PII values in your automation flows where those requests are being sent out to LLMs. And so we see a great use case for this as users might be typing sensitive information into these conversations. We want to make sure that those values are captured and masked and not ending up in an LLM where they shouldn't be. So the guardrails integration will allow you to be able to take care of those use cases up front as well. Uploading local desktop files for queries. So right now, users are required to make use of that AI knowledge page to upload the document data into the RAG index, which then makes it searchable. We understand that that's sort of it can be a cumbersome process especially if you just have like a quick contract locally and you just want to converse with it, you might not want to, go through the process of asking your admin to go upload and take a day or two to upload and make that available. So we will look to support this concept of a local upload, which will allow you to basically have a session-based chat with any local desktop files that you upload just into your chat session and not available to other users. From a region perspective, EMEA should be coming later this year, and we will be assessing Asia Pac as a region probably early next year. And some of the other highlights I will go through real quick is media-based content. This should be available later this year as well, where we'll allow our customers to be able to upload videos and audio files, and essentially he was able to go through those audio files and index the content of those much in the same way it's able to do it with text files. So using the multimodality capabilities of Q to allow you to be able to access more of your data in different formats. We'll look to expand the knowledge sources beyond the S3. So if you have a corporate SharePoint that you just want to point to, or maybe you want to crawl a website like your docs portal and ingest all that documentation for use maybe by your support reps, for example, that will come through our web knowledge source connector. And then deeper context understanding to drive assistance and multimodal responses all have to do with the Copilot experience around ensuring that we can support things like longer context windows, so around memory, data mapping from prompts directly into the form fields, and responses that are not just text-based, but also support responses in tabular format in charts as well as images. And I'll pause there. I think that was the last slide. But I can pause here for questions.
I'm going to hop in here real quick. So
Yeah.
as we've discussed, this is a new feature, and we do want to open this up to attendees to potentially impact the roadmap and help us navigate things. So I'm going to launch a 2-question poll. Question 1 are what capabilities would make a generative AI assistant truly indispensable for your daily work? Analyze images, localized in my language, execute API tasks, etc. Fill in your answer there. And then question 2, now that you've had a demo and have sort of seen what's coming down the roadmap, are you interested in having a CSM reach out to you for more information about this product? So go ahead, throw in your responses there. I will give it 1 more minute because I know these open-ended questions take a second. And then we will kick it over to Q&A. Shane, this is really exciting. This seems like a really awesome feature coming out.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited for the roadmap. I think there's a lot of really cool capabilities that we've got planned and are coming up in the near term.
Great. I don't want to close out the question just yet because it is that long answer response. So we can go ahead and dive into some of the questions as people are filling that out. Shane, which features are on-prem and which ones are cloud only?
Great question. So at this time, it will be cloud only. Reason is because it is built on Amazon Q, and so the architecture is very tightly tied to Q's capabilities in the background to deliver those knowledge responses. So there will be a requirement for our customers of this solution to be on cloud and to be specifically on AWS cloud.
Okay. And then what inputs are being referred to for Automation Copilot to know which task bots to run when using natural language? Is it just
No,
text?
I
Oh,
think he
this is the
covered
one
that
we
one. Yep,
answered?
he
Okay.
did cover that one.
Okay. And
There's
then,
there's
oh,
a
go ahead.
big one at the end that I marked I wanted to answer. and Shane, you can feel free to answer this one too. Why embed it in Salesforce versus using Salesforce's own agents? And I can give just a little bit of feedback there from the PNC use case that we had. This was prior to Salesforce having an agent, but Salesforce was still Salesforce at the time, and it had the ability to execute complex flows and store data. The problem was they couldn't solve the use case because it required interacting with other systems that were outside of their ability to interact with. So if you are doing a use case and all of the data exists within Salesforce and all of the AI that you require fits inside Salesforce, you probably don't need a third-party tool. So you could just use Salesforce. But how many use cases that happen across your entire organization sit in one system of record or action? You more often than not will need something else. Additionally, and this is something you're going to start seeing happen more and more as more products add in AI features. Let's say your organization has Salesforce and you've turned on its agents and its AI stuff. And you also have SAP in your company, so you're going to turn on their agents and their AI stuff. And then you also have ServiceNow, so you turn on their agents and their AI stuff. And I think you're starting to see a pattern here. You now have to have multiple people with multiple sets of skills doing multiple levels of AI review and governance across multiple systems. It's going to become a governance nightmare, and there's going to be AI proliferation across your org that's really hard to manage. Finding a provider like us that can just sit in any application with one of these widgets and you only need one skill set, it's going to make it a lot easier for you to maintain and manage your AI fleet.
Great answer, Matt.
Awesome. We have answered all the questions. Last call. If you have a question, drop it in the Q&A box. Okay. And with that, I will let everyone go. Have a great Wednesday. Enjoy your day. Thank you so much, Shane and Matt, for joining, and we will see you next month.
Thank you.
Go
Sounds
to
good.
our Pathfinder events page, hit subscribe so you can stay up to date with all of our events. Talk to you later. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.